The girl's knuckles were white against the truck door. Small hand, rust-red metal, breath-fogging glass she couldn't see over. Garrett Hale almost didn't stop. Highway 287 was a whiteout. Snow coming sideways, headlights catching nothing but static. Town meeting ran late, something about water rights and county commissioners, and he'd been driving 40 minutes with the radio off, thinking about nothing, which was how he preferred it. The sedan's hazards blinked weak through the storm. Pulled off on the shoulder, driver's door hanging open, snow already piling inside. Empty. Garrett slowed. Not his problem. Tow truck could handle it in the morning. But then, a shape. Small. Pressed against the far side of the vehicle. He stopped, cut the engine. The shape moved, a child maybe, hard to tell through the snow. And that's when he saw the hand. Small fingers gripping the edge of the truck bed, white-knuckled, holding on like the metal was the only thing keeping her from blowing away. Garrett sat there, heater ticking, wipers frozen mid-stroke, then he opened his door. Cold hit him like a fist. She didn't run toward him. She ran away, and that told him everything he needed to know about what she was running from. The girl was maybe 8, maybe younger. Hard to tell with the way she was hunched against the sedan's rear quarter panel, trying to make herself small. Thin jacket, not even a real winter coat, jeans soaked to the knee, no gloves. Her breath came in short bursts, visible in the headlight beam. Garrett approached slow, hands where she could see them. "You okay?" She pressed harder against the metal, eyes wide, tracking his every step. "I'm not going to hurt you, just checking if you're all right." She said nothing. He looked at the sedan, organ plates. Gas gauge would be on empty. People always ran out of gas in storms, thinking they could make it one more mile. No adult in sight. No footprints leading away except the small ones circling the vehicle. "Where's your folks?" The girl shook her head. "You out here alone?" Another shake. But her eyes said different. Garrett glanced down the highway. Nothing. No other cars, no lights, just white static and wind. Temperature had to be in the teens, dropping fast. She wouldn't last an hour out here. "Look, I got a truck right there. Heater works. I can call someone, get you somewhere safe." "No." First word she'd spoken, small voice, but hard. "No what?" "Don't call anyone?" Garrett studied her. That's when he saw it. When she shifted, her sleeve rode up. Bruises, dark ones. Ring of them around her wrist like someone had grabbed her and held on tight. His jaw tightened. "Kid, I can't just leave you here." "Then don't call anyone." She moved then, trying to edge past him, and her foot hit ice. She went down hard, hands smacking pavement, and the sound she made, not a cry, more like a caught breath, like she'd learned not to make noise when she fell. Garrett reached down. She flinched so violently she scrambled backward, slipped again. "Easy, easy. I'm not—" But she was up now, backing toward the ditch. And if she went over that embankment in this storm, they'd find her in the spring. "Stop, just stop." Something in his voice, not loud, not angry, just solid, made her freeze. They stood there. Snow between them, wind screaming. Garrett crouched down, getting on her level, hands still visible. "What's your name?" She shook her head. "Okay, don't gotta tell me. But you're gonna freeze to death out here. That's not a guess, that's a fact. So here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get in my truck, I'm gonna turn the heat on, and we're gonna figure this out. That work for you? You'll call the police. Not if you don't want me to. So promise?" Garrett looked at her, really looked. At the bruises, the terror, the way she was shaking, not from cold, from something deeper. He thought about what promising meant, what it would cost him if anyone found out. "Yeah, I promise." She searched his face for the lie. Didn't find one. "Okay," she whispered. The truck cab was warm. Garrett cranked the heat up full, aimed the vents at her. She sat pressed against the passenger door, as far from him as physics allowed. He didn't try to talk. Just put the truck in gear and headed west toward the ranch. Radio stayed off. Only sound was the heater blowing and the wipers fighting snow. 5 miles past. Then, "You hungry?" She didn't answer for so long he thought she hadn't heard. "Yeah. Me too." "Went another mile. Where are we going?" "My place. Got food, got a phone. If you change your mind about calling someone, got a spare room." "I won't stay long." "Okay. Just till the storm stops." "Sure." She was quiet after that. Garrett kept his eyes on the road. Visibility was maybe 10 feet. He knew this highway blind every curve, every cattle guard. 20 years driving it. The turnoff to Hale Ranch came up marked by 2 stone pillars, snow-capped. The drive was a quarter mile, lined with fence posts wearing white hats. House sat at the end, 2-story ranch style, lights on in the kitchen windows. Garrett pulled up near the front porch, killed the engine. Through the window, Ruth Kimball was visible, moving around the kitchen. She looked up, saw the truck, started toward the door. Then she saw the passenger seat. Her expression changed. Something passed across her face. Recognition, maybe, or memory. She met them at the door. Garrett? Ruth. Ruth looked at the girl, took in the wet clothes, the pale face, the way she was shaking. Her eyes went to Garrett, asking questions he couldn't answer yet. This is... He realized he didn't have a name. Kid needs a place to warm up. Maybe some food. Ruth stepped aside. Come on in, honey. The girl hesitated on the threshold. Looked back at the truck, like she was calculating distances. Escape routes. Then she looked at Garrett. He nodded. It's okay. She stepped inside. Ruth closed the door behind them, shutting out the storm. In the sudden warmth and light, the girl looked even smaller. A ghost in wet denim. Let's get you something dry, Ruth said, voice gentle as snow. And I just made soup. You like soup? The girl nodded. Ruth started toward the stairs, then paused. Looked back at Garrett, standing in the entryway, snow melting off his boots. Her eyes said, You know what you're doing? His said no. But he'd said yes anyway, made a promise. And Garrett Hale, whatever else he was, whatever he'd failed at before, kept his word. Even when keeping it might cost him everything. Ruth handed the girl a plate of eggs and said nothing about the way she ate, like someone who'd learned to finish fast before it got taken away. The guest room was on the second floor, into the hall. Ruth had the girl out of her wet clothes within 10 minutes, running a bath while Garrett stood in the kitchen, dripping on the tile. Who is she? Ruth asked when she came back down. Don't know. Where'd you find her? Highway 287. Abandoned car. Ruth dried her hands on a dish towel, slow and deliberate. She tell you anything? No. She got people looking for her? Garrett met her eyes. Probably. Ruth nodded. Didn't ask the next obvious question. Instead, she'll need clothes. I got some of Jenny's old things in the attic from when she was little. Jenny was Ruth's granddaughter. Lived in Bozeman now, grown with kids of her own. The clothes had been up there 15 years, waiting for nothing in particular. That'd be good. Garrett. Ruth's voice went quiet. What are you doing? Keeping a promise. To who? He didn't answer. Ruth studied him, the way she'd been studying him for 20 years, since before his wife left, since before Sarah. She knew him better than anyone, which meant she knew exactly what this was about. She can't stay forever, Ruth said. I know. Social services. I know. Ruth shook her head, but she went to the attic anyway. The girl came downstairs 40 minutes later, hair damp, wearing an oversized sweatshirt and sweatpants that Ruth had rolled at the ankles. She moved like a cat in unfamiliar territory, silent, ready to bolt. Ruth was at the stove. Sit anywhere, honey. The girl chose the chair closest to the door, back to the wall. Garrett was at the table with coffee and the Gazette, trying to look like this was normal, like he had strange children in his house all the time. Ruth set down a plate, scrambled eggs, toast, bacon, more food than the girl probably ate in 2 days. Thank you, the girl whispered. Then she ate, fast. Mechanical, fork moving like she was racing a clock. She kept glancing at the plate, at the door, at Garrett, checking if the food was going to disappear, if he was going to make her leave, if this was some kind of trick. Ruth caught Garrett's eye, said nothing. When the girl finished, she sat there with her hands in her lap, not sure what came next. You want more? Ruth asked. The girl's eyes went wide. There's more? Honey, there's always more. She nodded. Ruth refilled the plate. The girl ate slower this time, actually tasted it. What's your name? Ruth tried, gentle. The girl kept her eyes on her eggs. Can't say. Can't or won't? Both, Ruth nodded. All right. Well, I'm Ruth. That's Garrett. You're welcome here long as you need. The girl looked up at Garrett then, checking if that was true. He gave one short nod. She went back to eating. After breakfast, Ruth showed her the rest of the house. The living room with the fireplace, the TV, the dog, old yellow lab named Bo, sleeping on the rug. The girl stopped when she saw him. He don't bite, Ruth said. Barely's got teeth left. The girl crouched down slow, extended one hand. Bo lifted his head, sniffed, then licked her fingers. She smiled, mild, small, but real. First time, Garrett had seen anything other than fear on her face. Something twisted in his chest? He turned away, poured more coffee he didn't need. By noon, the storm had worsened. Ruth tried the phone. Line was down. Power was holding, but barely. The ranch was an island now. No one coming in, no one going out. The girl sat on the couch, wrapped in a quilt, watching cartoons on low volume. Bo had moved to lie at her feet. She kept one hand on his head, like an anchor. Ruth pulled Garrett into the kitchen. She's terrified, Ruth said, voice low. I know. Someone hurt her. Bad. I know. You see her wrist? He had. Yeah. Garrett, you call this in? They're gonna take her. Put her back with whoever did that. Maybe. Maybe hell. You know how it works. Parents get the benefit of the doubt. Kids get told to go home and be good. Garrett stared into his coffee. What do you want me to do? I don't know, but keeping her here without telling anyone, that's kidnapping. She asked me not to call. She's 8 years old. Old enough to know what she needs. Ruth was quiet for a long moment, then, you can't save everyone, Garrett. The words hung there, heavy. True. I know, he said, but I can save her. Ruth looked toward the living room. The small figure on the couch, the purple light from the TV. Lord have mercy, she whispered. That night, after Ruth went home to her cottage on the property, Garrett stood in the hallway upstairs. The girl was in the guest room, door cracked open. He could hear her breathing. Awake, but quiet. He looked down the hall, to the door at the end. Locked. Had been for 12 years. Sarah's room. He hadn't opened it since the week after the funeral. His wife had wanted to pack everything up, donate it, erase it. Garrett had refused. So they'd locked it instead, preserved it like a museum or a tomb. The girl coughed softly in the guest room. Garrett turned away from the locked door, went downstairs. Morning came gray. Storm had passed, but the roads would be buried for days. The county plow wouldn't make it out this far until midweek at the earliest. The girl appeared in the kitchen doorway, still wearing Ruth's granddaughter's old clothes, hair sticking up on one side. Morning, Garrett said. She nodded. Sleep okay? Yeah. He poured her orange juice without asking, set it at the same chair as yesterday. She sat, watching him move around the kitchen. You cook? She asked. Some. What are you making? Pancakes. That okay? She nodded, then quieter. I never had pancakes. Garrett stopped, spatula in hand, looked at her, 8 years old and never had pancakes. What kind of life? He pushed the thought away. Well, you're having them today. He made a stack. She ate 3, slowly this time, savoring. After breakfast, he showed her the barn. The horses whickered when they entered, breath steaming in the cold air. Hay dust caught the light from the high windows. This is Cisco, Garrett said, stopping at a buckskin gelding stall. He's old, gentle, won't hurt you. The girl stared up at the horse like it was something from another planet. You can touch him. Just keep your hand flat. She reached up, fingers trembling. The horse lowered his head, snuffled at her palm. She gasped, then laughed. A real laugh, bright and surprised. Garrett felt that twist in his chest again, sharper this time. You like horses? He asked. Never been near one. Want to? She looked at him, uncertain. Okay. He showed her how to brush Cisco's coat. The long, steady strokes. The horse stood patient as stone while the girl worked, concentration fierce on her small face. Good, Garrett said. Just like that. They stayed in the barn for an hour, Garrett doing chores, the girl following him like a shadow. She didn't talk much, but she was there, present, less frightened than yesterday. When they went back inside, Ruth had arrived with groceries. She'd snowshoed from her cottage, supplies in a backpack. Roads won't be clear for 3 days, Ruth announced. We're on our own till then. 3 days, Garrett caught the weight in her voice. 3 days before the world came back, before questions got asked. That's fine, he said. Ruth looked at him. Is it? That afternoon, the phone rang. They all froze. The girl on the couch, Ruth in the kitchen, Garrett by the window. It rang 4 times, 5, 6. Garrett didn't move. The machine picked up, his own voice recorded years ago. You've reached Hale Ranch. Leave a message. Beep. Garrett, it's Dale Pritchard, just checking in after that storm. Give me a call when you can. Click. The girl was staring at him, fear back in her eyes. Who's that? She whispered. County sheriff, old friend. Are you going to call him back? Garrett looked at her, at the way her hands were gripping the quilt, the way she was already calculating how fast she could get to the door. No, he said. No, I'm not. Ruth made a small sound. Might have been a sigh, might have been a prayer. Evening fell early. The 3 of them ate dinner together. Pot roast Ruth had made, potatoes, carrots. The girl ate normal now, not rushed, starting to trust that food would keep coming. After, Ruth went home, said she'd be back in the morning. Garrett and the girl sat in the living room, bow between them, fire crackling, TV playing some old western, John Wayne, rifles, dust. You got kids? The girl asked suddenly. Garrett's hand tightened on his coffee mug. Long silence. Had one. What happened? The fire popped. Somewhere in the house, the old pipes ticked. She died. Long time ago. How? Drowned. The girl was quiet. Then, was it your fault? The question hit like a bullet, direct, honest, the way only children ask things. Yeah, Garrett said. It was. Oh. They sat in silence. The movie played on. John Wayne riding into the sunset alone. I'm sorry, the girl whispered. Me too. She pulled the quilt tighter around herself. My mom. She didn't stop him. When he hurt me, she just closed the door. Garrett looked at her, small shape in borrowed clothes, lit by firelight. He won't hurt you here, he said. I promise. She met his eyes. You can't know that. Maybe not. But I'm going to try anyway. She nodded, seemed to accept that. They watched the rest of the movie in silence. When it ended, she went upstairs. Garrett heard her door close softly. He sat there alone. Fire dying, house settling. Then he stood, walked to the hallway, looked up the stairs, at the door at the end, still locked, still waiting. Ruth's words echoed. She reminds you. He'd shut her down, refused to hear it. But standing here now, in the dark, he couldn't avoid the truth. The girl didn't remind him of Sarah. She reminded him of what he'd failed to be, what he still might fail to be. But this time, this one time, maybe he could get it right, even if it cost him everything. 3 days in, she finally asked his name, and he realized he'd been so careful not to ask hers that she thought he didn't care enough to tell his own. Day 3, the girl started helping without being asked. Small things, clearing her plate to the sink, refilling Beau's water bowl, following Garrett to the barn each morning, watching how he broke the ice on the water troughs, scattered hay for the horses. She didn't talk much, but she was there. A shadow in 2 big clothes, breath fogging in the cold barn air. You can help, Garrett said on the 4th morning, handing her a flake of hay. Just toss it over the fence. Horses'll come. She took it careful, like it might break. Threw it awkward, landed half in the snow. That's fine. They'll get it. She tried again. Better this time. Cisco and the other 2 horses, a paint mare and an old roan, ambled over, started pulling at the hay. The girl watched them, something like wonder on her face. They're so big, she whispered. Yeah. Aren't you scared? Of them? Garrett shook his head. They're more scared of us than we are of them. Just gotta let them know you're not a threat. As she watched the roan, its jaw working sideways, breath steaming. How? Be steady. Be quiet. Don't make 'em guess what you're gonna do. The girl nodded, taking it in like gospel. They finished the morning chores. When they came back inside, Ruth had coffee ready and the radio on. Local station, weather report followed by news. Authorities continue search for 8-year-old Maya Contreras, missing since January 20th from her home in Riverside County. The girl's stepfather, Marcus Denton, and mother Linda Contreras have issued a public plea for information. Sheriff's office asks anyone with... Garrett crossed the room in 3 strides, shut it off. Silence. The girl, Maya he now knew, stood frozen by the door, face gone white. Ruth looked between them, said nothing. You hungry? Garrett asked, voice level. Maya nodded, barely. They ate breakfast. No one mentioned the radio. That afternoon, Maya sat at the kitchen table with crayons and paper Ruth had found somewhere, drawing horses. They looked more like dogs with long necks, but she was concentrating hard, tongue between her teeth. Garrett was at the counter, going through mail. Bills, circulars, a notice about the county commission meeting he'd missed. What's your name? Maya asked suddenly. He looked up. What? You never said your name. Garrett set down the mail, realized she was right. He'd been so careful not to ask hers, not to push, not to pry, that he'd never offered his own, like they were both just people, no names required. Garrett, he said. Garrett Hale. Oh, she went back to coloring. That's a good name. Thanks. She stopped, looked at the paper. You can call me Kid, if you want. Kid works. She smiled a little, kept coloring. Ruth came in from the laundry room, basket on her hip, caught Garrett's eye. Her expression said, Careful, you're getting attached. He knew. Evening came, Ruth made chicken and dumplings. They ate at the table, 3 of them now. Routine settling in dangerous and easy. After dinner, Maya helped clear dishes. She was at the sink, standing on a stool so she could reach, when she asked, Do you have a wife? Garrett was drying plates. He stopped. Had one. Oh, where is she? Left, long time ago. Why? Ruth made a soft sound, warning, but Garrett shook his head. She left because I wasn't there when it mattered. When our daughter needed us, I was working, making money, and she couldn't forgive that, couldn't forgive me. Maya rinsed a glass, slow and careful. Do you forgive her? The question landed sideways. Honest, direct. I don't know, Garrett said. Maybe. She had a right to leave. But you stayed. Didn't have anywhere else to go. Maya handed him the glass. He dried it. Their routine. My mom stayed, Maya said quietly. Even when she should have left. Even when he started hurting me. She just stayed. Garrett set the glass down. Looked at the small person beside him, 8 years old, and already understanding betrayal in ways no child should. That wasn't your fault, he said. Feels like it. I know, but it wasn't. She nodded. Didn't look like she believed him. They finished the dishes in silence. Later, fire going, TV playing low, Maya curled on the couch with Bo's head in her lap. Garrett in his chair, pretending to read the paper. Garrett? Yeah? Why'd you stop? On the highway. He lowered the paper, looked at her. I don't know, almost didn't. But you did? Yeah. Why? He thought about it. About driving past. About that small hand on the truck door. About promises kept and promises broken. Guess I got tired of driving past things, he said finally. She studied him. You mean people? Yeah, people. Are you going to drive past me? The question hung there, heavy, real. No, Garrett said. I'm not. Oh, promise? He met her eyes. Yeah, I promise. Maya smiled, small but real. Then she went back to petting Bo, content. Garrett watched her. This stranger child in his house, this echo of everything he'd lost and failed to keep. He won't hurt you here. I promise. 2 promises now. Both might cost him everything, but he meant them, both of them, whatever came next. Next morning, Garrett was checking the weather radio when Maya came downstairs. Roads are clear, he said. County got the plows through overnight. She stopped on the bottom step. Oh. The word carried weight. Oh, meaning the world's coming back. Oh, meaning this ends now. Need to go into town, Garrett said. Pick up some things. You want to come? She looked uncertain. Can I stay here? Rather you didn't. Not alone. Ruth's got errands of her own. He grabbed his keys. Come on. Won't take long. Maya followed him to the truck, reluctant. Climbed in, pressed against the door like that first night. They drove in silence. Highway 287 was plowed but icy, sand scattered at the curves. Timber Ridge appeared after 20 minutes. Small town, one main street, church steeples at either end like bookends. Garrett pulled up outside Kimball's Feed and Supply. Stay close, he said. Inside, the place smelled like leather and grain. Old man Kimball behind the counter, reading glasses on a chain. Garrett, hell of a storm. Yeah. Kimball's eyes went to Maya. Who's this? Garrett felt her tense beside him. Niece, visiting from back east. First lie. It came out smooth. Too smooth. Didn't know you had family out there. It's a big family. Kimball nodded, losing interest. What do you need? Garrett ordered salt licks and fence staples. Maya stayed silent, trying to be invisible. Back outside, Garrett looked at her. You okay? You lied. Yeah. To protect me? Yeah. She nodded, like that made sense. Like lying was just another thing adults did to keep her safe or unsafe. Hard to tell which. You hungry? Garrett asked. Little bit. Diner's down the street. We can eat quick. Mercy Diner was half full. Tuesday lunch crowd, ranchers, county workers, a few retirees nursing coffee and gossip. The bell over the door announced them. Heads turned, eyes tracked. Garrett felt it, the weight of small-town attention. Everybody knew everybody. And everybody knew Garrett Hale didn't bring children to diners. Didn't bring anyone anywhere? They slid into a booth. Maya took the side facing the wall. Waitress came over. Donna, worked there 30 years, knew everyone's order before they opened their mouths. Garrett, coffee? Please. And for the little one? Chocolate milk, Maya whispered. You got it, honey. Donna smiled, but her eyes were asking questions. What'll you have to eat? Burger. Fries. Same for her. Donna wrote it down, glanced at Maya again. She yours? Niece. Ah. Like that explained everything. Like it explained nothing. She walked away. Garrett could feel the diner's attention, hear the shift in conversation volume. Whispers starting. Maya pulled the paper placemat toward her, started folding it into small squares. Nervous habit. It's okay, Garrett said quietly. She nodded, kept folding. The bell over the door rang again. Sheriff Dale Pritchard walked in. Uniform pressed, radio on his belt. He scanned the room, routine, habit, and his eyes landed on their booth. He stopped. Garrett went still. Pritchard crossed the diner, stopped at their table. Garrett. Dale. Didn't know you'd be in town today. His eyes dropped to Maya. Who's your friend? Niece. From out east. The lie again. Getting easier, getting dangerous. That right. Pritchard studied Maya. She stared at the table, hands gripping the paper squares. What's your name, sweetheart? She didn't answer. She's shy, Garrett said. Huh? Pritchard's tone was professional, neutral, but his eyes weren't. Garrett, you got a minute? Outside. We're about to eat. Won't take long. Garrett looked at Maya. Her face was white, terrified. He stood. Be right back, kid. Outside, cold hit them. Pritchard pulled out his notebook. Want to tell me what's going on? Nothing's going on. Garrett, I've known you 20 years. You don't have a niece? It's a big family. You don't have any family. Pritchard flipped the notebook closed. I got a missing child case. 8-year-old girl, last seen 3 counties over, week ago. People at Kimball's feed store just called. Said Garrett Hale's got a little girl with him. About 8, brown hair. Garrett's jaw tightened. Lots of little girls have brown hair. Not many show up with you. She's my niece. Prove it. They stared at each other, cold air between them. 20 years of friendship and mutual respect cracking like ice. You really want to do this, Dale? I'm asking a simple question. And I gave you a simple answer. Pritchard sighed. Garrett, if you know something about this missing girl, I don't, then you need to tell me, because harboring a runaway, that's a felony. She's my niece. Pritchard studied him. Why do I think you're lying to me? Maybe you're just suspicious by nature. A long silence. Then Pritchard put his notebook away. Okay, but I'm going to check on this. Make some calls. And Garrett, if I find out you're lying, I'll have to bring you in, you understand? Yeah, I understand. Pritchard nodded, walked to his cruiser. Garrett went back inside. Maya was exactly where he'd left her, hands still gripping the paper, eyes wide. We need to go, Garrett said quietly. She slid out of the booth. Donna appeared with their burgers. We'll take 'em to go, Garrett said. Everything okay? Fine, just remembered something. They left. In the truck, Garrett pulled onto Main Street, watched Pritchard's cruiser in the rear view. Not following. Not yet. Maya stared out the window. He knows. Maybe. What are we going to do? Garrett gripped the steering wheel. Good question. No good answer. I don't know, kid, but we'll figure it out. She nodded. Didn't look like she believed him. They drove back to the ranch in silence. The world had come back, and it was closing in. The sheriff's truck came up the drive so like he had all the time in the world. And that's when Garrett knew they were out of it. 2 days after the diner. Garrett was in the barn, mucking stalls, when he saw the county cruiser crest the hill, white with the gold star on the door, moving deliberate. No rush. Pritchard. Garrett dropped the pitchfork. Strode toward the house. Maya was inside with Ruth, helping fold laundry. She looked up when he came through the door. One look at his face, and she went pale. What? Upstairs. Now. But, now, kid. She ran. Ruth stood, hands full of towels. Sheriff? Yeah. Garrett pulled his keys from his pocket, found the small brass one he hadn't touched in 12 years, handed it to Ruth. End of the hall. Lock it behind her. Don't come out till I say. Ruth took the key, looked at it, looked at him. Garrett, please. She went. Garrett moved to the window, watched Pritchard park, sit in the cruiser for a moment, writing something, making notes, official. Then the sheriff got out, adjusted his belt, started for the porch. Garrett opened the door before Pritchard could knock. Dale. Garrett, got a minute? Sure. They stood on the porch, cold air, Montana sky, gray and low. Mind if I come in? Rather stay out here. Pritchard nodded. Fair enough. He pulled out his notebook. Need to ask you some questions about the girl. Already told you. She's my niece. Right. From back east. Pritchard flipped pages. Thing is, I made some calls. Checked with family services in New York, Connecticut, Vermont. Even called your ex-wife in Oregon. Nobody knows anything about a niece. Garrett said nothing. Garrett, I got a missing child case. Maya Contreras, 80 years old, brown hair, brown eyes, went missing from her home January 20th. That's 2 weeks ago. Mother and stepfather filed a report, issued a public plea. That's got nothing to do with me. I think it does. Pritchard closed the notebook. I think that girl inside your house is Maya Contreras. I think you found her and decided not to call it in. And I think you know exactly why she ran. The silence stretched. Wind moved through the bare cottonwoods. She asked me not to call, Garrett said finally. She's 8 years old. She's old enough to know when someone's hurting her. Pritchard's expression shifted. What are you talking about? The stepfather, Marcus Denton. He hurt her. That's why she ran. Now, how do you know that? I saw the bruises. Bruises could be from anything. Kids fall. Kids play rough. These weren't from falling. Pritchard shook his head. Garrett, you can't just decide Can't decide what? That a scared kid needs protecting? That the system might send her back to the person who hurt her? The system has protocols. Social services investigates allegations. By the time they investigate, she could be dead. The words hung there, harsh, true. Pritchard was quiet for a long moment. You really believe that? I do. Based on what? Bruises? A scared kid? You ever think maybe she's scared because she's confused? Kids make up stories, especially in custody situations. This isn't a custody situation. Her mother and stepfather are married. Legal guardians, they have rights. So does she. Right? Not to be hurt. Pritchard sighed, rubbed his face. Garrett, I got a daughter. She's in foster care right now because the system decided I work too much, that I'm not present enough. You know what that taught me? Sometimes we think we're saving someone when we're just making it worse. Sometimes the people trying to help are the problem. Garrett stared at him. You saying I'm the problem? I'm saying you can't know. You can't just look at a scared kid and decide you know better than the law, than her family. Her family's hurting her. You think that. You don't know it. I know enough. Pritchard put his notebook away. Where is she? Upstairs. I need to talk to her. No. Whoa, Garrett. No. They looked at each other. 20 years. Fishing trips and fence repairs and Sarah's funeral, where Pritchard stood in the back, hat in hand, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. Don't make me get a warrant, Pritchard said quietly. Then don't get one. I'm trying to do my job. Your job is to protect kids. And I am. By following the law. By making sure she gets back to her legal guardians and social services. Can do a proper investigation. She won't survive a proper investigation. Pritchard shook his head. You don't know that. I do. Silence. Then Pritchard stepped back. I'm calling this in. State police, social services, the whole thing. They'll be here by morning. If I were you, I'd spend tonight figuring out how to explain this to a judge. He walked to his cruiser, got in, backed out slow. Garrett watched him go, watched the dust settle. Then he went inside, climbed the stairs. The door at the end of the hall was open, light spilling out. Garrett hadn't seen that light in 12 years. He stepped into Sarah's room. Time had stopped here. Posters on the walls, horses, cartoon characters, stuffed animals on the bed. Bookshelf full of stories she'd never finish. Everything exactly as she'd left it that morning before she went to the pond. Maya stood in the center of the room, holding something purple. The coat, Sarah's winter coat. She looked up, tears streaming. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Ruth said I could hide here, and I found it, and it's okay. Whose room is this? Garrett's throat tightened. My daughter's. Where is she? Gone. Maya looked around. At the frozen time, the preserved space. She died. Yeah. How old was she? 7. Maya looked at the coat in her hands, at the size of it, child-sized. This was hers. Yeah. I'm sorry. Garrett stepped into the room. First time, 12 years. The carpet still showed vacuum lines from the last time it was cleaned. The bed still had the same wrinkled sheets from that morning when Sarah had jumped out. Too excited to make it, he crossed to Maya, looked at the purple coat. Try it on, he said. What? The coat. Try it. I can't. She'd want someone to use it. Maya hesitated. Then slowly, carefully, she put it on, slipped her arms through the sleeves, pulled it close. It fit. Perfect. She looked up at him. Really? Really. Maya wrapped the coat tighter, started crying harder. Garrett knelt down, pulled her close. She fell into him, sobbing into his shoulder. It's okay, he said. It's okay. I'm scared. I know. He's going to make me go back. Not if I can help it. But you can't help it, he said. I know what he said. Ruth appeared in the doorway, saw them holding each other in Sarah's room, saw the purple coat. Her hand went to her mouth. That sheriff's coming back, Ruth said softly. I know. What are you going to do? Garrett looked at Maya, at this child in his daughter's coat, at this second chance he didn't deserve and couldn't walk away from. I don't know, he said, but I'm not letting her go back. Ruth nodded slowly. Then you better figure it out, because you got till morning. She left them there. Father and not father, child and not child. In a room frozen in time, wearing a coat that meant goodbye and hello at the same time. The clock was ticking, and Garrett Hale had no idea how to stop it. Ruth found him at the pond, the place he'd sworn never to go back to, sitting in the snow like he was waiting for something that would never come. Garrett woke to silence. Wrong kind of silence, the kind that said something's missing. He was up before his brain caught up with his body. Down the hall, Maya's door open, bed empty. Sheets pulled back neat like she'd tried not to leave a mess. Kid? Nothing. He checked the bathroom. Ruth's old room, his own room, though he didn't know why she'd be there. Back downstairs, kitchen, living room, Bo sleeping by the cold fireplace alone. Maya, his voice echoed, came back hollow. The purple coat was gone from where she'd left it draped over the couch. Her borrowed boots missing from by the door. Garrett's chest tightened. He went to the window. Fresh snow had fallen overnight, thin layer, maybe an inch. And there, clear as judgment, tire tracks. Leading from the house down the drive, not his truck, someone else's. They took her, social services, state police. Pritchard called them early, and they came while Garrett was sleeping, and they took her. Or she ran. Garrett grabbed his coat, his boots, burst out onto the porch. The tracks were clear. Single vehicle. Came up the drive, turned around, left. Sometime before dawn, he ran to the barn. His truck's still there, the horses in their stalls, undisturbed. No signs of struggle, no broken windows, no forced entry. She left. She heard them coming, and she ran. Garrett stood in the barn, breath coming hard, white clouds in the frozen air. Not again, he whispered. Not again. Ruth's cottage was a quarter-mile through the trees. Garrett ran it, pounded on her door. She opened it, still in her robe, alarm on her face. Garrett, what? She's gone. What? Maya. She's gone. Did you see her? Did anyone come to the house? I've been here all night. What do you mean, gone? I woke up and she's not there. Her coat's missing. There's tire tracks. Someone took her, or she left, or... Ruth grabbed her coat. Show me. They went back to the house. Ruth checked every room Garrett had already checked. Looked in closets, under beds, places too small for a child to hide, but places a terrified child might try. Nothing. In the kitchen, Ruth stopped. Saw something on the table Garrett had missed in his panic. A piece of paper, folded once, Maya's child handwriting in crayon. I'm sorry. I don't want you to get in trouble. Thank you for being nice. I'm going somewhere safe. No signature, no goodbye. Garrett read it twice, then crumpled it in his fist. She ran, he said. Garrett, she thought she was protecting me. She heard Pritchard yesterday, heard him say he was calling it in, and she ran so I wouldn't get arrested. Now where would she go? I don't know. Town, highway, anywhere. She's 8 years old in a snowstorm with no plan, and... His voice broke. Ruth put her hand on his arm. We'll find her. It's been hours. She could be... We'll find her. Garrett pulled away, paced, his mind racing through possibilities. If she went to the highway, she might hitchhike. If she went to town, someone might see her. If she went into the woods... No, don't think about that. I'm calling Pritchard, Ruth said. No. Garrett, a child is missing in winter. You don't get to be proud right now. She ran because of him, because he was coming to take her back. She ran because she's scared, and 8 years old, and doesn't understand that adults are supposed to protect her, not the other way around. Garrett stared at her, the truth of it hitting like a fist. Maya thought she was saving him, just like he'd thought he was saving her, and now she was gone. Ruth picked up the phone, started dialing. Garrett walked out, couldn't be in that house, couldn't look at that empty room, that folded note, that evidence of his failure. He got in his truck, started the engine, drove. The county roads were a grid. He took them one by one. Eyes scanning ditches, tree lines, anywhere a small figure in purple might be. His radio on, scanning emergency channels. Nothing. He stopped at the gas station where Highway 287 split toward Idaho. Showed the attendant, kid, maybe 19, a description. Brown hair, 8 years old, purple coat. Haven't seen her. Mercy Diner. Same question. Donna shook her head. You okay, Garrett? You look... I'm fine. He wasn't fine. He drove to the church, the library, the elementary school. Places a scared kid might think were safe. Nothing. 2 hours gone. Temperature dropping. Wind picking up. Garrett pulled over on a side road. Put his head against the steering wheel. Where would she go? If she was running, scared, alone. Where would a child go? And then he knew. The place where children went when the world was too much, when they wanted to disappear. The place where Sarah had gone. The pond was at the back of his property, a quarter-mile past the barn. Fed by a spring, it never fully froze. Thin ice at the edges, dark water in the middle. Willows around it, bare branches hanging low. Garrett hadn't been here in 12 years, but his truck knew the path, muscle memory. All those summers driving Sarah down here, her fishing pole rattling in the bed, her laugh bright as coins. He parked, got out. Snow crunched under his boots. The pond was gray under gray sky. Wind moving across it in small ripples. No purple coat, no small figure. Just water, and willows, and silence. Garrett walked to the edge. Stood where he'd stood that day 12 years ago, phone in his hand, wife screaming through the line. The pond, Garrett, the pond. He'd been in Denver, closing a deal, making money, building an empire. And his daughter had drowned while he counted dollars. Not again, he said to the water, to the sky, to God, or whoever was listening. Please, not again. But the pond just stared back, silent, offering nothing, a truck engine, coming through the trees. Garrett turned. County cruiser, Pritchard. The sheriff parked, got out, walked to where Garrett stood. Ruth called, Pritchard said. Told me the girl's missing. Garrett said nothing. I've got units out looking. State police, too. They're checking the highway, bus stations, anywhere a kid might go. She's not going anywhere. She's hiding. From what? From you. From the people who hurt her. From being sent back. Pritchard was quiet. Then, Garrett, I got the file. Full report on Maya Contreras, her mother, Linda. Stepfather, Marcus Denton. You want to know what it says? Don't care. And it says Marcus Denton's a small business owner, clean record, respected in his community. It says Maya's got behavioral problems, acting out, running away twice before this. It says her mother's tried everything, therapy, medication, structure. Garrett's jaw clenched. It says what they want it to say. Maybe. Or maybe a scared kid acts out because she's confused, not because she's being hurt. Maybe the bruises you saw were from her running away, not from abuse. You believe that? Pritchard looked away. I don't know what I believe anymore. Then why are you here? Because I have a daughter. Pritchard's voice went rough. She's 9. Haven't seen her in 6 months. System took her from me because I worked too much. Because I chose this job over being home. You know what that feels like? Losing your kid because you were trying to do the right thing. Garrett looked at him, saw the pain there, real and raw. When they took her, Pritchard continued, I thought I could fight it. Thought I could prove I was a good father. But the system doesn't care about good intentions. It cares about rules, about what's legal, about what's documented. He paused. And now my daughter lives with strangers and I follow the law that took her from me. Because what else can I do? Reversal number 3, not a villain. Just a broken man trying to believe the system works because if it doesn't, his own loss meant nothing. I'm sorry, Garrett said. Yeah, me too. Pritchard kicked at the snow. But here's what I know. You can't save her by keeping her. That's not how this works. The law is coming for both of you. And when they find her, and they will, you'll go to jail and she'll go back. And it'll be worse for her because she'll think you failed her too. And so what am I supposed to do? Let me help. Let social services investigate properly. Let the system doesn't work. Maybe not, but it's all we've got. Garrett looked at the pond, at the dark water, at 12 years of guilt reflected back at him. I can't lose her, he whispered. Not like he couldn't finish. Pritchard's expression softened. Sarah wasn't your fault? Yes, it was. You weren't even here. Exactly. Silence between them. 2 fathers, 2 losses, 2 different ways of carrying the weight. Pritchard's radio crackled. Dispatch. Something about checking the North Ridge. I have to go, Pritchard said. But Garrett, when we find her, think about what's best for her, not what makes you feel better about the past. He left. Garrett stood alone. The pond, the willows, the wind. Ruth found him an hour later, still standing at the water's edge. Not moving, not searching anymore, just standing. Garrett, he didn't turn. Come inside, it's freezing. I can't. You can't save her if you freeze to death. I can't save her anyway. Ruth walked to him, stood beside him, both of them staring at the pond that had taken so much. I was here that day, Ruth said quietly. Garrett looked at her. What? The day Sarah drowned. I was here, watching her. The words fell like stones. You were in Denver, Ruth continued. Your wife was in town, at the salon. I was watching Sarah. She asked to go to the pond. It was hot, summer. I said yes, her voice cracked. I said yes, and I sat right there on that bench, and I read my book, and she played at the edge, and I thought she was fine, thought I'd look up every minute or two, but I was reading, and it was quiet, and when I finally looked up, she stopped, couldn't continue. She was already under, already gone. I ran in, pulled her out, tried everything, CPR, breathing, screaming for help, but she was... Ruth, your wife knew, I told her. That's the real reason she left. Not because you were in Denver, because she couldn't look at me, couldn't look at the woman who let her daughter die. Ruth was crying now, tears streaming. And you blamed yourself so completely, so absolutely, that you never even asked what happened. You just assumed it was your fault for not being here. And I let you, because it was easier, because I'm a coward. Reversal number 4, the truth, 12 years hidden. Garrett turned to her. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were already destroying yourself. And I thought if I carried it alone, At least one of us could survive. She looked at him, but neither of us did. We both just stopped living. They stood there. Two people who'd been drowning for 12 years in different ways. I don't blame you, Garrett said finally. You should. I don't. It was an accident. A terrible accident. And I still should have been here. We both should have been more careful, but we weren't. And Sarah died, and we can't bring her back. Ruth gripped his arm. But we can find Maya. We can save this one. We can't let another child slip through our hands because we're too busy drowning in guilt. Something shifted in Garrett, a crack in the ice, a way forward. Where would she go, he asked. If she's scared and hiding and wants to feel safe? Where? Ruth thought. Somewhere familiar. Somewhere warm. She doesn't know anywhere. Yes, she does. One place. The place where you found her. Garrett's eyes widened. The church. When you brought her to town, you said she asked to stay in the truck, but you made her come. Where'd you eat? Mercy Diner. And what's next to Mercy Diner? The church. Garrett was already moving toward his truck. First Methodist. She'd have seen it. Might remember. Ruth ran with him. If she's there, she's there. They climbed in. Garrett started the engine. Tires spun in snow, caught, and they were moving. The pond shrank in the rearview mirror. Garrett gripped the wheel. 12 years he'd been standing at that water's edge. Frozen, guilty, unable to move forward. But Maya wasn't at the pond. She was still alive, still running, still trying to save herself. And this time, this one time, he'd be there. He'd find her. He'd keep his promise, even if it meant losing everything else. He drove the back roads for 3 hours before he admitted to himself what he was really looking for, a small figure in a purple coat, walking alone in the snow. The church was 40 minutes away. Garrett took the long route, checking every side road, every pullout, every place a child might rest or hide. Ruth had gone to rally help, calling neighbors, organizing a search grid. Garrett needed to move, needed to do something. The land stretched empty, white fields under white sky, fence lines marching toward nothing. This was Montana, in winter, all the color leached out, all the edges sharp. He'd lived here 54 years, knew every coulee, every creek bend, every ranch gate. But today, it felt foreign, like he was seeing it for the first time through Maya's eyes. A child alone, in all this white silence, trying to survive. His hands tightened on the wheel. Where are you, kid? Highway 287 was empty. No hitchhikers, no small figures trudging through snow, just the occasional semi heading toward Idaho, spray of slush in its wake. Garrett turned onto County Road 12, gravel under snow, slower going. His mind wouldn't stop. Wouldn't shut up. You promised her. Promised she'd be safe. She ran to protect you. 8 years old, and she thought she had to save you, just like Sarah, in the water. You weren't there, and He cut the thought off. Couldn't go there. Not now. But it came anyway. Always came. Sarah laughing at the pond's edge. 7 years old, gap-toothed, fearless. She'd wanted to go fishing. Garrett had said no. He had meetings, had deals to close. Denver was calling. Money was calling. And his daughter drowned while he signed papers. Ruth had been there. Ruth had tried. But Ruth wasn't her father. He was. And he'd chosen wrong. Garrett pulled over, sat in the idling truck, breath fogging the windshield. What the hell am I doing? Honest question. Brutal answer. Maya wasn't his. Never was. He'd found her on a roadside and decided, what? That he could make up for Sarah by saving some other man's kid? That keeping her would erase 12 years of guilt? She's not mine. Never was. But that kid, she'd looked at him with those scared eyes and asked if he was going to drive past her. And he'd said no. He'd promised. 2 promises now. Both might send him to prison. Maybe Pritchard's right. Maybe I'm just making it worse. The thought sat there, heavy. True, maybe. The system had protocols. Social services would investigate. If Marcus Denton was really hurting her, they'd find out. They had people trained for this. People who knew what they were doing. Unlike him. Widower rancher with a dead daughter, and too much money, and no idea how to save anyone, least of all himself. So, what do? He could call it in, right now. Tell Pritchard everything. Where he found her, what she said, the bruises he saw. Let the professionals handle it. That was the smart move, the legal move. The move that meant Maya goes back to Marcus Denton while they investigate. Garrett's jaw clenched. No. He'd seen those bruises, seen the terror in her eyes, seen how she flinched at raised voices, how she ate like someone who'd learned food could be taken away. The system might work eventually, might figure it out. After how many visits, how many reports, how many nights of Maya back in that house, praying someone would believe her? By the time they investigate, she could be dead, his words to Pritchard. Not hyperbole. Truth. Garrett started driving again. The radio crackled. He'd left it on, scanning emergency channels out of habit. Countywide alert for 8-year-old female, brown hair, brown eyes, last seen wearing purple coat. Considered endangered, Sheriff's Office has issued warrant for Garrett Hale of Hale Ranch in connection with, he shut it off. Warrant. So it was official now. He was a criminal. Kidnapper. Whatever they wanted to call it. He'd broken the law, hidden a child from her legal guardians, lied to law enforcement, all true, and he'd do it again. The realization settled in his chest. Cold, clear. He wasn't trying to replace Sarah, wasn't trying to fix the past. That was done. That was gone. Sarah was dead, and no amount of saving other children would bring her back. But Maya was alive, and if there was even a chance, even a small chance, that sending her back meant she'd end up dead too, then Garrett would break every law they had, because he'd already learned what it felt like to fail a child. And he couldn't live through that again, even if it meant losing everything. Ranch, freedom, reputation, peace. Even if it meant jail. Better to be in prison knowing I tried than free knowing I didn't. The church steeple appeared on the horizon, white against gray. First Methodist, standing at the edge of Timber Ridge like it had for 100 years. Garrett's heart kicked. Please, please let her be there. He parked a block away. Didn't want to spook her if she was hiding. Walked the rest. Snow crunching under his boots. Cold air burning his lungs. The church sat quiet, no cars in the lot. Doors probably locked. It was Tuesday, no services till Sunday. But there, on the back steps, partially hidden by the overhang, a small shape. Purple coat. Knees pulled up, head down. Garrett stopped. Relief hit so hard he almost fell. She was alive. Cold, scared, alone, but alive. He approached slow, didn't want to startle her. Kid? She looked up, face red from cold, tear-streaked. She saw him, and something broke. Tried to stand, stumbled, fell back down. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry. Garrett crossed the distance. Knelt in the snow beside her, didn't grab her, didn't crowd her, just knelt there, at her level. You okay? She shook her head, crying harder now. Why'd you leave? I heard him, the sheriff. He said you'd go to jail because of me, and I can't let you. Hey, look at me. She did. Those scared eyes, 8 years old and trying to save everyone but herself. You didn't make me do anything, Garrett said. I chose to help you. That's on me, not you. But they're coming. I know. And they'll make me go back. Maybe. I can't go back. I can't. And she was shaking. He'll be so angry. Garrett pulled her close. She fell into him, sobbing into his shoulder, small body shaking with cold and fear and exhaustion. It's okay, he said. It's okay. It's not. Nothing's okay. I know, but we're going to figure it out. How? Garrett didn't have an answer, didn't have a plan, didn't have anything except this child in his arms, and a warrant with his name on it, and a system that might save her or might destroy her. But he had one thing more. He had his word. I don't know yet, he said, but I'm not leaving you. That's a promise. And I keep my promises. She nodded against his shoulder, still crying, still scared, but not alone, not anymore. He found her behind the church, the one place in town where she'd learned that sometimes people tell the truth when they talk to God. Garrett held Maya until the shaking stopped, until her breathing evened out, until she was just cold instead of cold and terrified. We need to get you warm, he said. She nodded against his shoulder but didn't let go. Kid, look at me. She pulled back, face red, nose running, lips almost blue. How long had she been out here? 3 hours? 4? Can you walk? Yeah. He stood, helped her up. She wobbled, legs stiff from cold. He steadied her. Truck's a block away. Think you can make it? Yeah. They started walking, slow, Maya leaning into him, his arm around her shoulders. The purple coat wasn't enough, too thin, meant for autumn, not winter. Her teeth were chattering. Halfway to the truck, headlights appeared. Coming down Main Street, slow, deliberate, county cruiser. Garrett stopped. Maya saw it, tensed. It's okay, he said. But it wasn't. The cruiser pulled up alongside them, stopped, window rolled down. Sheriff Pritchard looked out, saw Maya, saw Garrett. His expression was complicated, relief and resignation and something like sadness. Found her, Pritchard said. Yeah. She okay? Cold, scared, but okay. Pritchard nodded. Got out of the cruiser, approached slow, hands visible, non-threatening. But the radio on his belt crackled with dispatch voices, other units, state police, the machinery of law enforcement closing in. Hey there, Pritchard said to Maya, voice gentle. You must be freezing. She pressed closer to Garrett, said nothing. Pritchard looked at Garrett. We need to talk. I know. Not here. Too cold. Come to the station. We can... No. Garrett. She's not going back to them. Pritchard's jaw tightened. That's not your decision. I'm making it my decision. You can't. You know you can't. Maya was shaking again, not from cold, from fear. Garrett looked down at her. At this child who'd run into a blizzard to save him from consequences, who thought her safety mattered less than his freedom. He looked at Pritchard, at this good man trying to do his job, at this father who'd lost his daughter to the system and still believed in it because the alternative was chaos. And Garrett made his choice. Dale, I need to ask you something. Pritchard waited. If your daughter, the one in foster care, if she called you right now and said she was being hurt, what would you do? That's not... What would you do? Would you follow protocol, file a report, wait for social services to investigate? Or would you get in your truck and go get her? The question hung there. Sharp, personal, unfair. Pritchard's face worked. That's different. How? Because she's mine. And this one's mine now. Silence. The words settling like snow. Pritchard shook his head. Garrett, you can't just decide a child is yours because you want her to be. That's not how it works. Well, maybe it should be. But it's not. And you know what happens if you keep her? You go to jail. She goes back anyway, and it'll be worse for her because she'll think you abandoned her. Not if there's another way. There isn't. There is. Garrett's voice was steady, certain. You let Ruth take her, temporary, while you investigate. Keep her safe, keep her close. Give social services time to do it right. I can't do that. Her legal guardians are the people she ran from? Allegedly. She's got bruises, Dale. Old ones. New ones. Ring-shaped, like someone grabbed her wrist and didn't let go. Pritchard looked at Maya. She'd pulled her sleeves down, hiding her arms, but the fear on her face told the story her words wouldn't. Even if that's true, Pritchard said slowly, I can't just hand her over to your housekeeper. That's not legal custody. That's not... Then arrest me. The words fell simple. Final. Pritchard stared. What? Arrest me. Right now. Kidnapping, harboring, whatever you want to call it. Put me in cuffs. Take me in. Garrett looked down at Maya. But let Ruth take her, not back to them, to Ruth's place, just until the investigation's done. Garrett, I'm not asking for her to disappear. I'm not asking you to break the law. I'm asking you to protect a child while you do your job the right way. And if that means I pay the price, then that's what it means. Maya grabbed his coat. No, you can't. It's okay, kid. It's not. I know, but you'll be safe. That's what matters. She started crying. Quiet, desperate. Garrett pulled her close. Pritchard stood there, radio crackling. Dispatch asking for his location. His hand went to the mic but didn't press it. He looked at Garrett, at Maya, at the church behind them. White walls, steeple pointing at gray sky like a prayer. This is crazy, Pritchard said. I know. You'll lose everything. I know. And it might not even help her. But it might. Pritchard closed his eyes. Long moment. When he opened them, something had shifted. If I do this, he said quietly, if I take you in and let Ruth have temporary custody, that's me sticking my neck out. That's me believing you over the file, over the system. You understand? Yeah. And if I'm wrong, if she's just a confused kid and you're just a guilty man trying to fix the past, then we both go down. I understand. Another silence, wind moving between them. Church bells somewhere marking the hour. Finally, Pritchard pressed the radio button. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. I've located the missing child and Garrett Hale, requesting social services and a unit at First Methodist. He released the button, looked at Garrett. They'll be here in 20 minutes. I'm taking you in. Ruth gets temporary emergency custody until the state investigator arrives tomorrow. But Garrett, this only works if Maya cooperates. If she tells them the truth about what happened, about why she ran. Garrett nodded, looked down at Maya. You hear that, kid? You're going to stay with Ruth. She'll keep you safe. But you got to tell them what happened. About Marcus. About why you left. Can you do that? Maya's face crumpled. But I'll be fine. No, you won't. They'll put you in jail. Maybe. For a while. Because of me. No, because of me. Because I made a choice. And I'd make it again. She sobbed into his coat, small body shaking with it. Garrett held her, looked at Pritchard over her head. Call Ruth. Tell her to bring warm clothes and food. And tell her, his voice caught. Tell her thank you. Pritchard nodded, made the call. Ruth's Buick appeared 10 minutes later. She parked, got out running, saw Maya in Garrett's arms, saw Pritchard standing official and sad, understood immediately. Oh, Garrett. And she needs you. I know. Ruth knelt down, eye level with Maya, Honey, you're coming home with me. Just for a little bit, we'll get you warm, get you fed, you'll be safe. Maya looked at her, then at Garrett. What about him? He'll be okay, Ruth said, though her voice said she wasn't sure. I don't want him to go. I know, baby. But sometimes people do hard things to protect the ones they love. Maya wiped her face, looked up at Garrett. Do you love me? The question cut clean through. Garrett crouched down, put his hands on her shoulders, looked right at her. Yeah, kid, I do. But I'm not yours. You are now. She threw her arms around his neck, held on tight, whispered something he almost didn't catch. You're the only dad who ever stayed. Garrett's eyes burned. He hugged her back, hard, then gently pulled away. You gotta go with Ruth now. Be good. Tell the truth. And don't be scared. Whatever happens, you're gonna be okay. Promise? Yeah, I promise. She nodded. Let Ruth take her hand. They walked to the Buick. Maya looked back 3 times. Each time, Garrett raised his hand. Small wave. Reassurance. The car pulled away. Disappeared around the corner. Garrett stood. Faced Pritchard. Okay, let's go. Pritchard pulled out his cuffs. Garrett Hale, I'm placing you under arrest for custodial interference and harboring a minor. You have the right to... I know my rights. The cuffs clicked. Cold metal. Real. Garrett looked at the church. White walls. Tall steeple. He'd stopped going 12 years ago when Sarah died. Stopped believing God listened. But standing here now, hands cuffed, daughter not daughter safe with Ruth, maybe God listened after all. Or maybe mercy didn't need God. Maybe it just needed people willing to pay the cost. Pritchard led him to the cruiser, opened the back door. Garrett climbed in. No fight, no protest. Through the window, he could see the church steps where he'd found her. Empty now, just snow and shadows. But she was safe, and that was enough. Spring came early that year, or maybe he just noticed it for the first time in a long time. 3 months later, the charges got dropped in February. State investigator found what Garrett had seen. Pattern of abuse, documented history. Marcus Denton's respectable surface hiding something ugly underneath. Linda Contreras lost custody. Denton got arrested. Maya stayed with Ruth, legal this time. Emergency foster care, pending permanent placement. Garrett spent 6 weeks in county lockup before the prosecutor decided harboring a child to protect her from abuse wasn't worth pursuing. Judge called it misguided, but understandable. Let him go with time served. First thing he did was drive to Ruth's cottage. Maya had been at the window. Saw his truck coming up the drive. Ran out before he'd even parked. She hit him like a small hurricane. Arms around his waist, face pressed into his coat. You came back. Told you I would. You promised. Yeah, I keep my promises. She'd grown some, not much, still small for 8, going on 9 now. But less scared, less hunted. Ruth said she still had nightmares sometimes, still flinched at loud voices. But she smiled more, laughed at Beau's antics, helped with chores without being asked, healing, slow, real. Late March, the snow finally melted. Mud season, grass pushing through brown earth, calves being born. The ranch, waking up after winter sleep. Garrett was teaching Maya to drive. Not on the roads, she was 8, 9, and 2 weeks, but in the big empty pasture behind the barn, his old F-250 crawling along in first gear, Maya's small hands gripping the wheel like her life depended on it. Easy, Garrett said from the passenger seat. Just keep it steady. She adjusted, overcorrected, adjusted again. The truck wobbled, but stayed straight. I'm doing it. You are, she grinned. Pure joy. The kind that only kids can feel when they're doing something impossible and getting away with it. She was still wearing the purple coat. Too warm for late March, but she wore it anyway. Like armor. Like memory. Like the only thing she owned that meant something. Can we go to the pond? She asked. Garrett looked at her. You sure? Yeah. Okay. They drove slow across the pasture, past the barn, past the equipment shed, down the rutted path he hadn't taken in 12 years, until that day in February when everything broke open. The pond appeared, no longer frozen, ice long gone, water dark and still under spring sky. Willows, budding green, first color after all that white. Garrett killed the engine. They sat there. Ruth says this is where your daughter died, Maya said quietly. Yeah. Are you sad when you come here? He thought about it. Used to be. Now it's just a pond. Because of me. Because of you. Because of time. Because holding on to grief forever doesn't bring anybody back. She nodded like that made sense. Then, can we get out? They walked to the water's edge. Same spot where he'd stood that day, Ruth confessing, both of them drowning in old guilt. But today, the water just looked like water. The willows just looked like trees. Maya picked up a flat stone, tried to skip it. It kerplunked, sank. Here, Garrett said. Showed her the angle, the wrist flick. Try again. She did. The stone skipped once, twice, sank. Better. Can I ask you something? She kept her eyes on the water. Sure. Ruth says I might get to stay. With her. For real. Like, forever. That's what the judge said, if you want to. I want to. She paused. But would you still visit, or is it different now? Garrett looked at her. Small figure in too big coat. Girl who'd run into a blizzard. Girl who'd saved him from freezing to death inside his own guilt. Kid, he said, you ain't the one I lost, but you're the one I found. She looked up at him, trying to understand. What does that mean? He crouched down, eye level. Means some people you're born to, some people you choose. Don't matter which. Both kinds are family. Her eyes filled. So you'll still visit? Yeah, that means yes. She threw her arms around him. He held her, right there by the pond that used to mean death and now just meant water. After a moment, she pulled back. Can I ask you something else? You can ask me anything. What was her name? Your daughter. He'd been waiting for this, wondered when she'd ask. Sarah, he said. Her name was Sarah. That's a pretty name. Yeah, it is. They stood there, man and child, water and willows, purple coat and spring grass pushing through. I won't forget her, Maya said. Even though I didn't know her, I won't forget. Thank you. And I won't forget that you saved me. We saved each other, kid. She smiled, small but real. They walked back to the truck. Maya climbed in the driver's side without being asked. Garrett got in passenger. She started the engine, had to reach for the key, stretch to turn it, and put it in gear. Where to? She asked. Wherever you want. She thought about it. Then, home. Ruth's place? Yeah, that's home now. She drove, slow and careful, across the pasture, toward the barn, toward Ruth's cottage in the distance, smoke from the chimney saying someone was waiting. Garrett looked at her. This stranger child who'd become his. This second chance he didn't deserve but got anyway. The purple coat too big on her small shoulders. The truck door she'd once gripped in terror, now under her control. The hand on the wheel, no longer white-knuckled and frozen, just steady, just driving, just going home.